You are listening to WTUZ Radio Podcast. This is Rhonda with WTUZ Radio Podcast. This will be real quick. Sometimes I say that and it's not, but I'll try to make this quick. This morning on the local news, a story popped up where an Ohio couple is having issues because of the pandemic and the closing of the Canada border. And specifically, the U.S. decided to extend opening up the Canadian border. So it's getting really, really interesting, family, with the restrictions that appear to be coming down the pipeline with the pandemic. So let me real quick, I'll share the story that happened this morning on the local news here. And then we'll go into a Forbes article real quick that talks about the U.S. extending the closing of the Canada border. And that's just on the cusp of Canada about to implement more restrictions as well. So let's get to this news story. Okay, it helps if I...
With the story of...
have caused a lot of headaches for business travel and vacations. It's also brought hardship on family members separated by a border.
I didn't even think about this.
Yeah.
It is just so sad. Matthew's joining us in studio with the story of one couple. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it really is. This couple reached out to me to tell their story. They had given birth to their daughter in December of 2018. Then, he was working two jobs, and the pandemic just flipped everything upside down for him and his family. And his fiance has been on maternity leave, and travel restrictions really just changed their plans for their lives upside down.
There's bad days at work and you'd like to have that hug at the end of the day.
But instead of comfort, there's only agonizing separation.
I don't get that. I get a picture of what she's done throughout the day. I get a video call.
On most days, it's the only way Tom Musgrave can talk to or even see his soon-to-be 3-year-old daughter.
Right now, for me to get to Ohio, I would have to pay $2,000 to fly from Toronto to Detroit versus it's like $40 for me to drive.
But for Tom's fiancée, Jaslyn DeClercq, the 4-hour drive from Tillsonburg, Ontario to Cary, Ohio isn't an option.
We'll get in the car and she'll be like, we're going to Dad's house. We're going to Dad's house. And then when we return home, she has a meltdown.
The U.S.-Canada border was closed in March of 2020 because of the pandemic. While the Canadian government has since created exemptions for foreign families, the United States is yet to reciprocate, leading to isolation for cross-border couples.
Your family is only essential if you can afford to see them.
I would really like it if they would sit down and think about how they would feel in my position, then try to tell yourself that you're not essential.
Tom and Jaslyn have only spent 26 days together in the past 18 months, their daughter transitioning from an early walker to a running and jumping toddler during that time.
It's hard to see her miss him. She shouldn't have to miss him.
But they're far from alone.
This is a worldwide issue.
Which is why they're helping lead the charge in the calls for change.
And Tom and Jaslyn are members of a United States-based grassroots campaign called Let Us Reunite, which has more than 3,000 members just representing the United States and Canada. That doesn't include thousands of other families in other countries as well. Wow. You guys, he's, like I said, he's working 2 jobs.
Yeah.
He's 6 days a week. People just want to know, why doesn't he just move to the United States? The immigration, visas,
Of course.
it's just not that easy.
It's a lot.
It's never that easy. So obviously
Okay. So thank you to
Canada made the change. U.S.
sorry
doing
about
this
that,
anytime.
family. Thank you to the local Columbus News here. So I guess I was slipping because I didn't realize that was still going on. So just real quick with Forbes, U.S. extends land border closure with Canada until September 21st. So supposedly and allegedly, they're going to open back up that Canada to U.S. border on the 21st. So it's pretty much, they already kind of talked about that with the article, but in that, news story. It says the U.S. Department of Homeland Security stated that given the outbreak and continued transmission and spread of C-19 within the United States and globally, the secretary has determined that the risk of continued transmission and spread of the virus associated with C-19 between the United States and Canada poses an ongoing specific threat to human life or national interests. The decision was met with disappointment by many Canadians and Americans. In a statement, U.S. Travel Associate Executive Vice President of Public Affairs and Policy, Tori Emerson Barnes, said that the travel restrictions are no longer protecting us from the virus. Vaccines are. Said U.S. Travel Association Executive Vice President of Public Affairs and Policy, Tori Emerson Barnes. Every day that our land borders remain closed delays America's economic and job recoveries, causing a greater damage to the millions of people whose livelihoods depend on travel and tourism. Okay, so each one of us should understand that, because if you travel a lot, now you have to second guess and do research to determine what are the restrictions for you to travel, okay? For each month, the status quo continues at the Canadian border, America's #1 source market of inbound arrivals. The United States loses $1.5 billion in potential travel exports, leaving countless American businesses vulnerable. The document from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security went on to note that given the sustained human-to-human transmission of the virus, coupled with risk posed by new variants, non-essential travel to the United States places the personnel staffing local ports of entry between the United States and Canada, as well as the individuals traveling through these ports of entry, at increased risk of exposure to the virus associated with C-19. Accordingly, and consistent with the authorities granted in, there's the code, 19 U.S.C. 1318, I have determined that land ports of entry along the U.S.-Canada border will continue to suspend normal operations and will only allow processing for entry into the United States of those travelers engaged in essential travel, as defined below. Okay, so they're talking about in that statute, that 19 U.S.C. Okay, given the definition of essential travel below, this temporary alteration in land ports of entry operation should not interrupt legitimate trade between the two nations or disrupt critical supply chains that ensure food, fuel, medicine, and other critical materials reach individuals on both sides of the border. Now, real quick, I find it interesting that they're talking about they want to make sure that legitimate trade between the nations isn't impacted, so the supply chain, when we still continue to hear about shortages in the supply chain. I talked about that real briefly in passing. What was that? Last week. Yeah, it was last week. I went to 2 stores, and not that the shelves were like bare, not by any means, but just typical stuff. I did notice that it was missing. And then 2 of the items that, of course, I wanted, literally, in one case, it just wasn't there. And in another one, I got the last one off the shelf. And there are literally other YouTubers who are, they call them preppers, who are literally going to the stores and they're documenting how the food chain supply and just supplies in general. One lady went to Costco and it was hit or miss on getting certain stuff. I've heard truck drivers say that there is a truck driver shortage, although there's always kind of a truck driver shortage, but it's really, really bad now. And as we know, the trucking industry is essential in the food supply chain, or just the supply chain in general. Okay, so I find that interesting that they're talking about making sure trade isn't interrupted, where it doesn't appear that the supply chain has still caught up with the shutdowns from last year. Okay, so it says the document did emphasize that Canadians can still travel to the U.S. via plane. Okay, am I like slow? Maybe I'm slow, because if it's a threat for the contagious disease and they want to lessen the stop of the contagion, that's why they close the borders, or in this case, the Canadian to U.S. border, but they can fly via a plane. I'm not understanding that logic on the contagion spreading. I don't get that. Maybe it's just me personally not understanding that. Maybe it's just 2 different industries, because the airlines are allowed for people to fly, which you would think that if it's that highly contagious, even with the mask on, and we all know sitting on those planes how cramped that space is, you would think that, and the recirculating of the air, you would think that that would be a place ripe for spreading. But okay. All right, so it said, at this time, this notification does not apply to air, freight, rail, or sea travel between the United States and Canada. Now, anybody that knows or are familiar with cruises, yeah, remember when the virus was at its height last year? There's actually a documentary on this. I think it's on HBO, when it showed a particular cruise with where the virus ran rapid on the cruise, and that particular ship was not allowed to dock on any port. Okay, and it was different nations of people on that cruise. And some, I think one nation, and I can't remember, I apologize, you all, they came in to get their people, but I want to say they spent either a week or 2 weeks before they came off of the ship, that everybody was pretty much evacuated. and folks kept getting sick, and those that got sick had to be, pulled out of the general population and isolated or quarantined, but everybody still had to be in their room. It was a hot mess. So I think it's on HBO. If it's not on HBO, check on Netflix. My point bringing that up, I still say, why aren't planes, why aren't cruises? Anybody that's been on a cruise, although those ships are huge, you are in close proximity. And even before the virus took place, you can look up several news stories where there was like massive spread flu that happened on cruise ships, yada, yada, yada. So point being, cruise ships are ripened to spread cold, flu, etc. Okay, so I'm not understanding how the border is such a threat, but yet planes aren't a threat, and sea travel, and because the cruises are back in operations, by the way, but specifically sea travel between the United States and Canada, that's off the list. Okay, they did restrict passenger rail, passenger ferry travel, and pleasure boat travel between the U.S. and Canada. These restrictions are temporary in nature. Sorry, family, and shall remain in effect until September 21st. Biden's decision not to open the border comes at a time when Canadians are still reacting to other surprising travel news. Okay, so we're going to jump over to that. This article, as you all can see, those of you that are viewing this from YouTube, this is Forbes magazine, came out on August 25th. U.S. extends land border closure with Canada until September 21st. So let's jump over and see, honey, what they talking about with Canada. All right, and also let's just keep in mind that Australia, oh my goodness. I'm not going to do a separate podcast on Australia because there's plenty of other YouTubers that have done it, and I think they're doing an excellent job with it. You can definitely do a quick YouTube search or Google search and see the lockdowns that continue to go on in Canada. And there are a lot of protests, et cetera, and a lot of folks getting locked up behind it as well. So Australia is really, really going through some things. Okay, so Canada to make proof of vax mandatory for air and train travel. So when did they put this out? This was August 18th, so not too far behind the other article. On Friday, August 13th, the Canadian government announced that it intends to require vax as early as the end of September for workers in the federal public service. This mandate would include all federal workers in the federally regulated transportation sector, including air travel, trains, and cruises. The announcement comes just days after Canada opened its borders to the vaccinated U.S. travelers. The news release states that as the country's largest employer, the government of Canada is committed to playing a leadership role by further protecting the health and safety of public servants and the community where they live and work across Canada and around the world. Okay. Now, I've heard talks, and it could have already happened, that even some governmental entities at the state and county level in the U.S. are trying to do the same thing, right? So it says they're committed to playing a leadership role by further protecting the health and safety of public servants, the community, and where they live and work across Canada and around the world. In addition, as soon as possible in the fall and no later than the end of October, the government of Canada will require employees in the federally regulated air, rail, and marine transportation sectors to be vaxxed. The vax requirement will also extend to certain travelers. Okay. This includes all commercial air travelers. So, wow. So that means you trying to go over in Canada, you got to have your paperwork in order. Your vax paperwork. This includes all commercial air travelers, passenger on interprovincial trains, and passenger on large marine vessels with overnight accommodations such as cruise ships. Wow. That's getting ready to hit them with low tourism big time. According to the release, the reason for the mandate is because the government believes that vax is the most effective tool available for the risk of the virus and to protect the country's broader public health. It is our most important instrument, and so we continue to take action to get as many Canadians vaxxed as possible. Vax are the best line of defense, and for those few who are unable to be vaxxed, accommodation or alternative measures, such as testing and screening, may be determined in each situation to protect broader public health by reducing the risk of C-19. Now, I know of two particular people who, one person was just traveling from Louisiana to one of the Caribbean islands. It was Dominica. I had to remember the island. They were able to leave from Louisiana to go there, no problem. But coming back, they had to schedule a test, and it was really a hassle. And it caused that particular person to reschedule their flight twice because they had to work around the schedule of the folk that were doing the testing. And then another person was traveling abroad. Dang, I can't remember. I want to say somewhere in Asia, but I can't remember to be specific. And the first person, I don't know if they had the vac. I don't ask people that. It's none of my so-and-so business. The second person did have the vac, and they still had a hassle. They were traveling internationally and had to reschedule their travel and literally had to stay an extra week in order to get everything lined back up because they still had to take a test and get it cleared to come back into the States. So just giving you all an idea of what is going on and how it's becoming difficult to travel. Okay, so the first scenario I gave you, to be fair, I don't know if that person had the vac, but the second scenario, it was quite shocking because the person did get the vac, and the person said that they were upset about it. And the reason that they did get the vac is because they wanted to avoid the situation that they wind up being in, because this person travels quite a bit for work. All right, so the government of Canada is leading by example in requiring vax for public service employees. Quite biased there, Forbes. You need to do a better job and be unbiased, but okay. The government of Canada is leading by example in requiring vax for public service employees. And we are asking all federally regulated employers. Oh, they quoting somebody. Okay, I apologize for Forbes. Okay, and we are asking all federally regulated employers to develop vax plans to ensure their employees and workplaces are safe. This is the right thing to do and will ensure Canada continues to build back better from global C-19 pandemic, said Omar Al-Glabra, Minister of Transport. The government has also promised to meet with key stakeholders such as bargaining agents and transportation sector operators to make plans regarding how the mandate will be implemented. The process will include determining how this requirement will be implemented through confirmation of C-19 vaccination and other means of protection, such as testing when necessary. The press release notes that the government of Canada fully expects that Crown corporations and other employers in the federally regulated sector will follow suit and also start to require proof of vax for their employees. Now, I don't know what they mean by Crown corporations, but I do know that unless you're in a medical, we know that they are requiring it, just like they require them to get the flu shot. Like I said, I've heard of some government agencies here in the States at the local level and at the state. So at the municipality level, city level, and state level here in the States are talking about doing the same thing. Regular everyday employers, which make up most of employment, so far, I haven't seen them touch that, which I'm sure their lawyers are telling them, you better have several seats because you better have a budget lined up to pay out suits because you're dancing a fine line. Because number one, you're breaking HIPAA requirements. How can you mandate folk to do something and then medically mandate them to do something and then say, I need you to disclose to me part of your medical record, because that's what that VAC card is, part of your medical record proving that you did that. That's no different than someone asking, your employer asking you, did you go take this test and that test? Well, you need to take this test and that test. And we're talking medical tests. So any type of disease test, cancer test, STD test, any of that. Or you don't have employment and you have to show me proof. That's violating HIPAA protection laws. So I don't see corporations doing that. People are really, really split on this issue across the country, across the U.S. It appears that it's like 50% down the middle. So I don't see companies taking that type of risk. So it says, furthermore, the government is encouraging organizations outside of the federally regulated sector to develop their own vax strategies, okay? So I can tell you, all they gonna do is try to throw money at folk to get it, try to shame folks into getting it. But as far as mandating, that ain't finna happen. They're not going to put themselves at risk like that. But notice, it appears, now this is just my lowly opinion, that federally they're trying to bully, probably via, money. So states and local municipalities that are anywhere involved with federal funding, they're probably on the back end telling the folks that are running those particular entities that they need to get in line as well. Hence, talks of different states at the state level and local municipality requiring vax for their employees. Okay? All right? So those that know what I'm talking about, when there's a difference from being an employee, when you work at the federal level, that's the definition of a true employee. I don't know. This is kind of proving that point. All right, so the release goes on to promote the success of the vax in the fight against C19. Since the start of the vaccination campaign in mid-December, less than 1% of C19 cases have been among those who were fully protected by the vax. These measures will contribute to reaching the overall levels of vax Canada needs to sustain a resilient economic recovery in the face of more transmissible and dangerous C19 variants of concern. More than 71% of eligible people in Canada are fully vaxxed. More than 82% have had their first shot. Well, I think that's high numbers, but okay, whatever. However, more than 6 million eligible people in Canada are still unvaxxed. Oh, okay then. Okay. I see how y'all messed with the numbers, because if you look at the 82%, that's not a bad number, and 70 isn't too bad either. But I noticed that you want to throw the 6 million number on those that still haven't gotten it, but whatever. We are urging all of you to get out there and get vaxxed now. Doing so will help keep the community safe. Okay, so, yep, you could have kept this last part. You should have kept the article unbiased. So that was bias. Nobody asked you all of that, ma'am. But so I just wanted to bring this to you all, family. Get prepared. Now, here locally at the Columbus level, in the city of Columbus, the ban was lifted by the governor of publicly wearing masks. So I want to say it's Friday. Don't quote me. Now, just the city of Columbus. So the mayor, the city of Columbus, is mandating that if you are in an indoor facility, that you must wear a mask in the city of Columbus. Okay, so meaning going into grocery stores or whatever the case may be, you must have mask. Oh, wait a minute, y'all. Baby, I can't make this up. Biden is literally saying all employers with 100 plus workers must get vaxxed. Child, I'm telling you, when I choose these topics, I don't even be knowing why I'm choosing it. Child, I can't make this stuff up. Hold on, y'all. Breaking news. Literally. We're going to stream with what he's saying right now. Okay, I want the live stream. Let me go live. Child, I just can't. I straight up can't. Come on, give me the live stream. Where's the all right, he's literally live now. Hold on, family. Okay. Oh, so now I can't reach it. Really, CNN? I can't reach it. I'm watching it on TV. Why can't I reach it? Okay, here we go, family. Okay, I'm trying to get to it because I'm watching it on the news. CNN, get your crap together. I could turn up my...
Make a personal appeal to them to get the shot. America needs your personal involvement in this critical effort. My message to unvaccinated Americans is this. What more is there to wait for? What more do you need to see? We've made vaccinations free, safe, and convenient. The vaccine has FDA approval. Over 200 million Americans have gotten at least one shot. We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin, and your refusal has cost all of us. So please do the right thing. But just don't take it from me. Listen to the voices of unvaccinated Americans who are lying in hospital beds, taking their final breath saying, if only I'd gotten vaccinated. If only. It's a tragedy. Please don't let it become yours. The second piece of my plan is continuing to protect the vaccinated. For the vast majority of you who've gotten vaccinated, I understand your anger at those who haven't gotten vaccinated. I understand the anxiety about getting a breakthrough case. But as the science makes clear, if you're fully vaccinated, you're highly protected from severe illness, even if you get COVID-19. In fact, recent data indicates there is only one confirmed positive case per 5,000 fully vaccinated Americans per day. You're as safe as possible, and we're doing everything we can to keep it that way. Keep it that way. Keep you safe. That's where boosters come in. The shots that give you even more protection than after your second shot. Now, I know there's been some confusion about boosters, so let me be clear. Last month, our top government doctors announced an initial plan for booster shots for vaccinated Americans. They believe that the booster is likely to provide the highest level of protection yet. Of course, the decision of which booster shots to give, when to start them, and who will give them will be left completely to the scientists at the FDA and the Centers for Disease Control. But while we wait, we've done our part. We bought enough booster shots, and the distribution system is ready to administer them. As soon as they are authorized, those eligible will be able to get a booster right away in tens of thousands of sites across the country for most Americans at your nearby drugstore and for free. The third piece of my plan is keeping, and maybe the most important, is keeping our children safe and our schools open. For any parent, it doesn't matter how low the risk of any illness or accident is when it comes to your child or grandchild. Trust me, I know. So, let me speak to you directly. Let me speak to you directly to help ease some of your worries. It comes down to two separate categories. Children ages 12 and older who are eligible for a vaccine now, and children ages 11 and under who are not yet eligible. The safest thing for your child 12 and older is to get them vaccinated. They get vaccinated for a lot of things. That's it, get them vaccinated. As with adults, almost all the serious COVID-19 cases we're seeing among adolescents are in unvaccinated 12 to 17-year-olds, an age group that lags behind in vaccination rates. So parents, please get your teenager vaccinated. What about children under the age of 12 who can't get vaccinated yet? Well, the best way for a parent to protect their child under the age of 12 starts at home. Every parent, every teen sibling, every caregiver around them should be vaccinated. Children have 4 times higher chance of getting hospitalized if they live in a state with low vaccination rates rather than states with high vaccination rates. Now, if you're a parent of a young child, you're wondering, when will it be the vaccine available for them? I strongly support independent scientific review for vaccine uses for children under 12. We can't take shortcuts with that scientific work. But I've made it clear I will do everything within my power to support the FDA with any resource it needs to continue to do this as safely and as quickly as possible. And our nation's top doctors are committed to keeping the public at large updated on the process so parents can plan. Now to the schools. We know that if schools follow the science and implement the safety measures like testing, masking, adequate ventilation systems, which we provided the money for, social distancing, and vaccinations, then children can be safe from COVID-19 in schools. Today, about 90% of school staffs and teachers are vaccinated. We should get that to 100%. My administration has already acquired teachers at the schools run by the Defense Department, because I have the authority as president of the federal system, the Defense Department and the Interior Department, to get vaccinated. That's authority I possess. Tonight, I'm announcing that will require all of nearly 300,000 educators in the federal paid program, Head Start programs, must be vaccinated as well to protect your youngest, our youngest, most precious Americans, and give parents the comfort. And tonight, I'm calling on all governors to require vaccination for all teachers and staff. Some already have done so, but we need more to step up. Vaccination requirements in schools are nothing new. They work. They're overwhelmingly supported by educators and their unions. And all school officials trying to do the right thing by our children. I'll always be on your side. Let me be blunt. My plan also takes on elected officials in states that are undermining you and these life-saving actions. Right now, local school officials are trying to keep children safe in a pandemic while their governor picks a fight with them and even threatens their salaries or their jobs. Talk about bullying in schools. If they'll not help, if these governors won't help us beat the pandemic, I'll use my power as president to get them out of the way. The Department of Education has already begun to take legal action against states undermining protection that local school officials have ordered. Any teacher or school official whose pay is withheld for doing the right thing, we will have that pay restored by the federal government 100%. I promise you, I will have your back. The fourth piece of my plan is increasing testing and masking. From the start, America has failed to do enough COVID-19 testing. In order to better detect and control the Delta variant, I'm taking steps tonight to make testing more available, more affordable, and more convenient. I'll use the Defense Production Act to increase production of rapid tests, including those that you can use at home. While that production is ramping up, my administration has worked with top retailers like Walmart, Amazon, and Kroger's. And tonight, we're announcing that no later than next week, each of these outlets will start to sell at-home rapid test kits at cost for the next 3 months. This immediate price reduction for at-home test kits for up to 35% reduction. We'll also expand free testing at 10,000 pharmacies around the country. And we're committing $2 billion to purchase nearly 300 million rapid tests for distribution to community health
Doggone it. Sorry about that.
centers, food banks, schools, so that every American, no matter their income, can access free and convenient tests. This is important to everyone, particularly for a parent or a child with a child not old enough to be vaccinated. You'll be able to test them at home and test those around them. In addition to testing, we know masking helps stop the spread of COVID-19. That's why when I came into office, I required masks for all federal buildings, on federal lands, on airlines, and other modes of transportation. Tonight, I'm announcing that the Transportation Safety Administration, the TSA, will double the fines on travelers that refuse to mask. If you break the rules, be prepared to pay. And by the way, show some respect. The anger you see on television toward flight attendants and others doing their job is wrong. It's ugly. The fifth piece of my plan is protecting our economic recovery. Because of our vaccination program and the American Rescue Plan, which we passed early in my administration, we've had record job creation for a new administration. Economic growth unmatched in 40 years. We cannot let unvaccinated do this progress, undo it, turn it back. So tonight, I'm announcing additional steps to strengthen our economic recovery. We'll be expanding COVID-19 economic injury disaster loan programs. That's a program that's going to allow small businesses to borrow up to $2 million from the current $500,000 to keep going if COVID-19 impacts on their sales. These low-interest, long-term loans require no repayment for 2 years and can be used to hire and retain workers, purchase inventory, or even pay down higher-cost debt racked up since the pandemic began. I'll also be taking additional steps to help small businesses stay afloat during the pandemic. Sixth, we're going to continue to improve the care of those who do get COVID-19. In early July, I announced the deployment of surge response teams. These are teams comprised of experts from the Department of Health and Human Services, the CDC, the Defense Department, and the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, to areas in the country that need help to stem the spread of COVID-19. Since then, the federal government has deployed nearly 1,000 staff, including doctors, nurses, paramedics, into 18 states. Today, I'm announcing that the Defense Department will double the number of military health teams that they'll deploy to help their fellow Americans in hospitals around the country. Additionally, we're increasing the availability of new medicines recommended by real doctors, not conspiracy theorists. The monoclonal antibody treatments have been shown to reduce the risk of hospitalization by up to 70% for unvaccinated people at risk of developing severe disease. We've already distributed 1.4 million courses of these treatments to save lives and reduce the strain on hospitals. Tonight, I'm announcing we will increase the average pace of shipment across the country of free monoclonal antibody treatments by another 50%. Before I close, let me say this. Communities of color are disproportionately impacted by this virus.
All right, family. I was hoping it wasn't going to cut it off. Doggone it, because he's talking about community of color. See if it'll let me do it again. If not, I'll end it. Let's see if it'll let me do it again. If not, Let's see if MSNBC. I can't make this up. I told y'all I wasn't going to be long. I apologize. But in my defense now, I was literally trying to make this quick. And, but the press, as I was wrapping up, the video on the virus comes on. So let's see what else he got to say. Dang, I hate it. I missed the community of color.
And that's just the beginning. We've also now started to ship another 500 million COVID vaccines, Pfizer vaccines, purchased to donate to 100 lower-income countries in need of vaccines. And I'll be announcing additional steps to help the rest of the world later this month. As I recently released the key parts of my pandemic preparedness plan so that America isn't caught flat-footed with a new pandemic comes again, as it will, next month, I'm also going to release a plan in greater detail. So let me close with this. We've made so much progress during the past 7 months of this pandemic. The recent increases in vaccinations in August already are having an impact in some states where case counts are dropping in recent days. Even so, we remain at a critical moment, a critical time. We have the tools. Now we just have to finish the job with truth, with science, with confidence, and together as one nation. Look, we're the United States of America. There's nothing, not a single thing we're unable to do if we do it together. So let's stay together. God bless you all and all those who continue to serve on the front lines of this pandemic. And may God protect our troops. Get vaccinated.
Child, Joe high-stepping it out of there.
President Biden there with a big address with big policy proposals. He summed it up himself.
Child, I can't even make that up. It is what it is, family. My purpose for this video was literally to show you how these restrictions were being ramped up. And as I was closing down, as y'all can see, that's why I have to keep like a TV up in the background in my office on mute for these breaking news stories. So there you have it, family. So this is going to get really, 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 really interesting. So I'm not going to hold you all any longer. I wish you all well on this Thursday. We will be live on the air on YouTube on the Truth Uncompromised channel. We will be on episode 44 in the series Mama Tara and the Consciousness of Her People. Hopefully you can join us. But thank you so much, family. You have a wonderful day. This is Rhonda with WTUZ Radio Podcast. Peace and love, family.